Kiana and Ronald Burns got married in 2015. They threw an incredibly lavish wedding, organizing vibrant entertainment, dance performances, and treating their guests to top-tier cuisine. The entire celebration was marked by impeccable service. On top of that, professional photographers and videographers captured every moment, and the stunning wedding photos were shared online for the world to see. At the time, no one could have imagined that years later, their relationship would be completely ruined, and they would no longer be able to hide their growing resentment toward each other. Unfortunately, their failing marriage didn't just end in separation. It resulted in a brutal crime. It all happened in Atlanta, the capital of the Peach State. Atlanta is a massive city with a rich history, thriving industries, and a lively cultural scene. With its pleasant climate, it's no surprise that it attracts both tourists and new residents. However, the city also has a darker side. It's known for its high crime rates. In fact, Atlanta's crime rate is 2.5 times higher than the national average. Even in a city accustomed to frequent criminal incidents, this particular case left everyone in shock. On November 6, 2021, police received a distressing 911 call. Officers arrived at a home where a married couple had been found dead. It was later determined that one spouse had killed the other before turning the gun on themselves. Kiana, 44, and Ronald Burns, 46, were home alone that evening. Shortly before 9 p.m., Kiana shot and killed her husband before taking her own life. The tragedy sent shockwaves through their community, leaving their family devastated. But the ones who suffered the most were their 8 children, who suddenly became orphans. Fortunately, none of their children were home at the time of the incident. Had they been there, they might have witnessed the horrific scene or even become victims themselves. Kiana and Ronald were a well-off and well-known couple. They co-owned several businesses, including a beauty salon, a barbershop, and multiple online schools. They also maintained a strong social media presence, frequently sharing glimpses of their seemingly perfect life. With a big family, wealth, and popularity, everything appeared to be going well for them. And then, suddenly, this shocking crime happened. Friends and acquaintances struggled to comprehend why Kiana would do something so drastic. The truth behind her actions turned out to be even more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. To understand what led to this tragedy, we need to go back to the very beginning of Kiana's story. Kiana Renee was born on September 15, 1977, and spent most of her childhood in Missouri. From a young age, she was determined to build a successful life for herself. After graduating high school, she decided to pursue cosmetology. Once she started her training, she knew she had made the right choice. She had a natural talent for the craft. Skilled with her hands and a people person by nature, Kiana quickly built connections. After completing her education, she put her newfound skills to use and launched her own business, Critic Designs, a beauty salon combined with a barbershop. Even without a formal business degree, she managed to grow her brand rapidly and gain public attention. In the beginning, her clients were mostly family and friends. Before long, the residents of St. Louis recognized Kiana's talent. Her business grew steadily, and over the next 20 years, it became one of the most successful beauty salons in the city. By then, she had opened a second location and had no shortage of employees or clients. Both she and her business were thriving. As for her husband, Ronald Burns was born on May 14, 1975. He was tall, maintained an athletic build throughout his life, and saw himself as a successful businessman. In high school, Ronald developed a passion for basketball, which became a significant part of his identity. He played in the state championship in 1994 and was known for his determination and competitive nature. Perhaps this drive pushed him to constantly seek new ways to achieve success. While Kiana was busy expanding her own business, Ronald turned his attention to multi-level marketing companies and other questionable schemes, believing they would lead him to financial success. Despite his tendency to get involved in shady ventures, Ronald was charismatic and had a knack for making connections. He was willing to try anything that might help him move forward. At one point, he even started preaching Christianity through his own organization, named after the Glory Ministry, in an attempt to build a community around himself and expand his influence. In reality, Kiana wasn't Ronald's first wife. In 2014, after going bankrupt, he married a woman named Avis. Their marriage lacked love, and although Ronald maintained the appearance of being well-groomed and successful, the truth was that he was unhappy and all his business ventures had failed. Ironically, Ronald met Avis while trying to lure her into one of his scam operations, but she refused to be a part of it. At the time, he was already involved with another woman, but whether due to fate or his growing interest in Avis, that relationship quickly ended. Eventually, Ronald and Avis had 2 children together and were married for 4 years. However, over time, their relationship began to fall apart. In 2014, the couple even appeared on a popular reality show, Divorce Court, in an attempt to resolve their marital issues. Their episode aired nationwide, with Ronald trying to portray himself as the innocent victim in the relationship. But to anyone watching, his narcissism and dishonesty were obvious. On camera, he openly admitted to cheating on his wife. While it was never confirmed who he had an affair with, many believe it was Kiana. Avis, on the other hand, revealed that Ronald was reckless with money, frequently spending her earnings, and could never hold down a full-time job. Eventually, Ronald and Avis divorced, and almost immediately, he began a relationship with Kiana. She was of great interest to him. After all, she was already a highly successful businesswoman with an established empire. Naturally, Ronald wanted a piece of that. When it came to Kiana, she was drawn to Ronald's confidence, charisma, and ability to build valuable connections. They both saw each other as the perfect partner for creating a successful business, and with that in mind, they decided to pursue a relationship. Before long, they got married, and on September 13th, 2015, their families officially became one. They spared no expense for their wedding, inviting a large number of guests, booking a massive banquet hall, and ensuring that everything was top tier. Given that both had big egos, it was no surprise that they chose to throw such a lavish celebration. To outsiders, Kiana and Ronald seemed like incredibly successful individuals who, by joining forces, could truly create something extraordinary. Moreover, Kiana's wealth combined with Ronald's experience appeared to be a winning combination. However, over time, those expectations fell apart. All their business ventures eventually failed, with only Kiana's beauty salon staying afloat. From that moment on, despite having no real income, Ronald worked hard to convince everyone around him that he was a thriving businessman. His social media was filled with pictures and posts showcasing his family's supposedly luxurious lifestyle, effectively masking the harsh reality of their financial struggles. On social media, you can create any image you want, but often, those who feel the need to flaunt their wealth and success are the most insecure. The Burns family fell into that category. Beyond trying to make others envious of their extravagant lifestyle, which wasn't nearly as glamorous as they made it seem, they also used social media to conceal the issues in their marriage by posting happy couple photos. One example was Kiana's Instagram post from May 6th, 2020, where she shared that her husband had just gifted her a brand new Maserati Land. Other posts featured Kiana and Ronald attending high-end parties, traveling, and always looking their best, dressed in designer outfits with flawless hair, makeup, and nails. Meanwhile, Ronald frequently posted about his various business endeavors, claiming that every project he took on became a huge success. On top of that, both of them portrayed themselves as devout Christians, regularly adding Bible verses or religious quotes to their posts. The couple also shared photos of their lavish mansion, showcasing their supposed wealth and picture-perfect family life. Whether posing at home, at social events, in front of luxury cars, or on vacation, every post served as a smokescreen. In reality, they were struggling more than anyone in their social circle. For several years leading up to these events, Ronald had been working for an American marketing insurance company that scammed middle and lower-income families out of their money. He even attempted to recruit his own family, friends, and fellow church members into the scheme to boost his status within the company. However, Ronald's earnings from this job were nowhere near enough to support his family. His financial troubles were made clear when, after his 2014 divorce, he couldn't even afford $250 in monthly payments. But now, after marrying Kiana, he suddenly had access to her business and, unfortunately, to her money. For some reason, Ronald believed that the only thing standing between him and success was financial support. He was convinced that if he could just use his wife's money, he could elevate both himself and Kiana in society. And nothing stopped him from executing his plan. Ronald started pouring Kiana's hard-earned money into launching the business he had always dreamed of. Soon after, his social media accounts were filled with advertisements for his new ventures. A financial consulting firm called Six Figure Ambition and another company named Legacy Financial Solutions. The pages of these businesses featured photos of Ronald and Kiana posing next to luxury products and attending various conferences. There were also images of supposed client testimonials praising their services. In reality, these companies failed just like all his previous ventures. What Ronald was actually doing was burning through Kiana's money to fund yet another losing and fraudulent business idea. It's important to note that the couple wasn't just two carefree, young entrepreneurs. They had children. And not just one or two, but 8. Instead of accepting failure and shutting down Ronald's business, which was draining their already struggling finances, they continued to convince everyone around them that their new venture was thriving and that they were successful entrepreneurs. Maintaining their public image as a prosperous couple was more important to them than facing reality. Their excessive pride and ego drove them to keep up appearances at all costs. People in their circle had no idea about their real financial struggles, and Ronald and Kiana were willing to do anything to keep it that way. In fact, their social media followers admired their so-called business success and praised them as an inspiring family. Ronald and Kiana believed they were just one step away from making the fortune they had always dreamed of, refusing to acknowledge the truth. Their arrogance was so extreme that they even produced a reality show about themselves, calling it Meet the Burnses. Any money Ronald managed to bring in was immediately spent on maintaining the illusion of their extravagant lifestyle. But by the end of 2019, their reckless spending caught up with them, and they were nearly bankrupt. On December 19th, 2019, Ronald and Kiana Burns officially filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Under this type of bankruptcy, they were forced to liquidate some of their assets to pay off their debts. In the process, they lost around $20,000. While that might sound like a significant amount, it was nothing compared to their total debt. Over the course of their short marriage, the couple had accumulated nearly $500,000 in debt. Kiana's business couldn't pull them out of financial ruin, leaving them no choice but to file for bankruptcy. Even as their world was crumbling around them, Ronald and Kiana refused to let the facade slip. They continued portraying themselves as a happy, successful couple, despite the fact that their carefully crafted image wasn't helping them stay afloat. By this point, they were nothing more than con artists and liars. And in order to keep the charade going, Ronald decided that the family should move to a bigger city so he could continue to deceive more people without consequence. This turned out to be another foolish and failed decision on his part, since Kiana's business was still thriving, located in their hometown, and was the family's only source of income. Unfortunately, Kiana once again went along with her husband's plan and agreed to the move. So in 2021, the Burns family relocated to Atlanta, Georgia. Given their situation, any other family in their place would have chosen a more modest and economical move, but the Burns family continued to waste money. They ended up renting a luxurious mansion with 5 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms in the affluent suburb of Sandy Springs. Moreover, on social media, they didn't mention that they were renting the house. In their posts, they claimed they had bought it outright, with no savings, using the money they made from their businesses. Now, in addition to their cars, clothes, and fake smiles, the Burns family had a mansion. Clearly, all of Ronald's attempts to stay afloat had once again failed, since his business ideas had been doomed from the start. At the same time, Kiana struggled to adjust to the new place. All of her friends, business, and support system remained in St. Louis, and she began to feel completely isolated. On top of that, their marriage started to deteriorate rapidly. It turned out that Ronald had started cheating on her again, which further shattered Kiana's emotional state. Ronald became distant, and Kiana began to think that she had never truly mattered to him and that, in reality, he only cared about her money. At one point, Ronald even posted a video on his social media complaining about the difficulties in his marriage. The video was later deleted, but it caused a huge argument between him and Kiana and almost led to a divorce. The revelation shocked their followers, who had always thought their family was perfect. But at the same time, it became clear to everyone what kind of person Ronald was. Upon closer listening, it was obvious that, first and foremost, he cared about his business and the money he would lose in a divorce. Now, with no love and no money left between them, they were both completely disillusioned with each other. Their image, which they had worked so hard to maintain, now began to weigh even more heavily on them. Kiana should have left Ronald and returned to life without him, but for some reason, she stayed. Meanwhile, after moving to Atlanta, possibly after learning about Ronald's infidelities, Kiana found another man. The irony is that, in the end, it was Ronald who filed for divorce. Despite having cheated on his wife for a while, he considered her infidelity unforgivable and filed for divorce. In the documents filed on October 10, 2021, Ronald cited Kiana's infidelity as the reason for the divorce. However, the couple's family and friends were completely unaware of this. Ronald kept the truth hidden from the public, probably thinking that making a big deal about his wife's affair would not help his image as a successful man. Kiana, on the other hand, didn't hide that something was wrong in their marriage. She stopped mentioning her husband on her Facebook page and soon began posting only selfies and videos of herself. Among her posts was a video from a club where it was clear that Kiana was there alone. The most obvious statement about her marital issues surfaced online on October 20th. 10 days after Ronald filed for divorce. That day, Kiana went live on Facebook to talk about something much more serious. The bright smile she often showed was now replaced with the expression of a worn-out, troubled woman. It became clear that she wasn't in the best state of mind. Many people started to worry about her, and for good reason, as her condition worsened after that day. Just 3 days later, on October 23rd, she posted on her page, "God is my witness. I would do anything to wake up from this nightmare," adding the hashtag God, I need strength. Kiana was on the verge of a breakdown and clearly could no longer endure the hell that surrounded her daily. She was completely alone in the new city. Her business and family were still in St. Louis. The business she had believed in had failed, and her husband, whom she had invested so much in, no longer loved her. Kiana genuinely believed there was no way out of this nightmare, and sadly, it ended in the worst way imaginable. On November 6th, 2021, the peaceful silence of the wealthy Sandy Springs neighborhood was shattered. First, screams were heard coming from the Burns house, followed shortly by gunshots. The police received a call soon after. One of the Burns daughters reported domestic violence. Not long after, Kiana herself called the police, telling them she had just shot her husband. She asked them to send help as soon as possible. Although the police and emergency responders arrived shortly, it turned out that after the call, Kiana had also shot herself. By the time the first officers and paramedics arrived, Kiana was still alive, but despite all efforts, she couldn't be saved. On that day, both Kiana and Ronald passed away. While the details of what really happened in that house remain a mystery, it is clear that the couple had been arguing for some time, and during the altercation, Kiana pulled out a gun. The outcome of this argument shocked everyone. The end of this story is absolutely tragic. The self-assured and scrupulous con artist took everything he could from his wife, who was too proud and angry to let him go. As a result, both spouses lost their lives, and the reputation they had worked so hard to maintain over the past few years was destroyed in an instant. Now, their followers discovered who they had really been all along, and that they had been lying to themselves and others. Yes, Kiana and Ronald had managed to keep their secrets hidden until their deaths, but it clearly wasn't worth it. Now, their 8 children will grow up without parents. And the truth about Kiana and Ronald has finally come to light.